Okay, I'm just going to report on a couple of things going on. This is Monday, June 16th, 2025, the reign of Donald Trump, the felon, first felon to be president. And, the country, he's trying to get it so that he can put more and more surveillance on the streets. And like China, you have surveillance, facial surveillance, your biometrics, and so forth. As you walk down the street, as you go towards your house, they clock when you leave your house, when you return, and you are required to look in the cameras. Uh, Trump is on that type of vein. He wants to make it so that people don't cover up, even as they're putting pepper spray in your face. You can't cover your face. So he got the New York mayor, who he saved from having to go to trial on some um, crimes he allegedly committed in New York. So now that New York mayor, Adams, has said it is a crime for citizens to cover their face if they're in groups and discussing things or they look suspicious. They have to have their faces out so that the surveillance cameras can see them and can take their biometrics and so forth, and record it so that they can be found later. So California has responded and said it is now California law, or they're trying to pass a California law, because the police have been stopping people in their cars. They'll say, we want to see your driver's license, we want to know your name, and so forth. And you'll be looking at a man who is, his face is almost totally covered. He looks like some crazy person out in the street. You don't know whether he's a murderer, but he says he's a cop. They don't want to show you any identification. They don't want to tell you who they are. They just say they're a cop. They say they have a warrant if they come to your house, but they don't want to show it to you. And then they try to force you to do things, and it's very, very intimidating because they come in numbers. They're not just one person. There might be three people standing there in mass, looking like they're ready to do some type of army tactic against you. And that could be your neighbor, that could be someone from a different city, but it could be a policeman. You'd have no idea. So now California is saying it's illegal for police to do this stuff with their faces all covered. They use the gas masks, they use all kinds of things to cover their face and their identities so that people don't even know who they're dealing with, and they have no way of getting a nice response. They stop people for all kinds of reasons. They stopped one person because it was a man driving a car, but I guess they tailed the car and they saw that it was registered to a woman. So then they stopped the car and said his crime was not being the registered owner of the car. Of course, he hadn't done anything wrong. I mean, it could be the husband, could be the boyfriend, could be the brother, could be the cousin. But you can't stop somebody and ask them for all of their identification just because you aren't the same gender as the person registered on the registration. Could also be that the person is a female, looks like a male, or a male who looks like a female. So it's absolutely crazy. Now, one of the reasons Trump has brought all of these military people in is because he does not want elections. He is trying to throw out every Democrat he can find that is eligible to vote. He is searching them out. He wants to get many more deportations quicker, and he wants to do that because he wants to make sure that he gets as many Democrats or people who are going to vote against him out of the country, or have them commit felonies so that you can be stopped by a policeman and you can be arrested You can be charged with who knows what, and if they can get you as a felon, of course you won't be able to vote in the elections. So that's what Trump is trying to do. He's trying to decrease the voting pool against him in the next election. And Trump doesn't even want the next election because, as he saw with his failed military parade, he doesn't have a lot of support. So he wants to get people out. He wants people not to be voting, and he wants to stop the election altogether. So he wants to stop the 2026 election. Now people will be campaigning for that election in about 5 months or so. So that is one of his goals for 2026. Stop the 2026 elections by getting the ability to evoke the Insurrection Act. Now, once they evoke the Insurrection Act and saying there's too much chaos and military stuff going on in the streets, which there's not, he's just posing that it is, but over time you have all these military wandering around and doing all kinds of things. Yeah, people are going to strike back. And then he took all the jobs, so that there are people out there who are very good people, never did anything wrong, were just going to work, being good Americans, and then he threw them out of work. And of course, every month they're getting lower and lower, homeless, marriage problems, societal problems. And so that's going to get them bumping into police. The police are taking over highways, they're taking over roads. You don't know where you're going to have a police officer, and then they can come in dressed and suck you in. So they can come in dressed as, they can have female officers come in and try to get you to do or say something illegal, and that would be, of course, your start to a federal detention and possibly conviction. So, and then of course the next thing is he wants to get rid of the next presidential election after he gets rid of the 2026 election, so that he doesn't have to run again. He can do as crazy as he wants and no one will stop him, because he will have the Insurrection Act there and he can stop elections altogether. And of course he wants to get us involved with, he has turned his back on Zelensky, who is trying to keep Russia from expanding into Europe and possibly into the United States. And he's over there at the G7 complaining that he wants Putin in the G7. However, the G7 was created for high-earning, very, very wealthy countries, and they had to meet a certain financial mark to get into the G7. It's Italy, the United States, Canada, China is not in there, France, and maybe some others. Did I say Italy? So anyway, Putin was thrown out of the G7 because his country was advancing, but then it flopped and it did not meet the financial requirements to become a member of the G7. Now the G7 was held in Canada, and if you notice the pictures of Trump getting off the helicopter, they try to be very nice to Trump because they feel Trump is the strongest person in the G7. So Trump gets off his helicopter, he's strutting around, and they have military people, just like they do at his helicopter, to help you get off helicopter. And the Canadians were there and they saluted Trump, and Trump just walked past them. He didn't want to salute them because, of course, Canada has refused to become the 51st state in the United States and has threatened to turn off electricity to certain states in the United States, and is aligning more and more with other countries because they have to move on. I mean, they can't just sit around waiting for Trump. So if Trump's not going to act right, and be cordial and cooperative. Well, they have to move on to other countries, and Trump finds that an insult, so he got off the G7 plane, strutted past the Canadian officers, never even gave a cordial salute, and gave a few handshakes, then walked off to, they have another helicopter that takes them from the airport to the place that they're meeting in the mountains. And when he walked to his second helicopter, he was by himself. Now, most of the other people get an entourage that follows them. So you might see 5 and more people with the other leaders from other countries. Trump just walked there by himself. He's a pitiful guy. He's going it alone. And, I feel like I'm in the Taj Mahal. Isn't that the Trump's failed casino? But we're in this building. There's nothing we can do right now. We'll have to see what happens. And we'll talk to you later. Like and subscribe. Bye.